the definitive headliner, the big game. Number 3 Michigan at number 2 Ohio State at the Horseshoe. The Buckeyes are 7.5-point favorites, and this is a Saturday kick, 11 a.m. on Fox. Finally, the big noon kickoff is actually a big noon kickoff. So shout out to Fox. You get one right a year. But guys, we've been talking about this, previewing it, leading up to this game for 12 straight weeks now. It's finally time to settle this on the field. Both teams 11-0. Both teams feel like they're playing a play-in game for the college football playoff. With the state of the Shadow Realm in the Big Ten West, it really feels like all but certain that the winner goes undefeated and waltzes into the college football playoff. I'll turn it over to you guys. I think I know which way you're leaning here, but with Ohio State 7.5-point favorites, which side of this rivalry game are you guys falling on?
Well, I'll start off with my pick. I'm gonna pick Michigan to cover this 7.5 point spread because I think 7.5 points is just way too many to give a good, very, very good, borderline elite Michigan team. And look, we all know the story. We all know the history of this rivalry. It's been very one sided up until last year. It's been even more one sided in Columbus, where Michigan has not won outright since the year 2000. So it's just really difficult for me to pick them to win completely outright. I do think they cover the spread and Ohio State wins a close one outright. Guys, I think we get a game for the ages this week. And so often these big games don't live up to the hype. So often that they just, I don't know, something happens. There's an injury, and we'll get to the Blake Corum subplot of this here in just a second. But there's an injury, or just one team completely doesn't show up ready to play, and it doesn't live up to the hype. And I just really don't think that's what we get this weekend. We talked ad nauseum on the recap show about Blake Corum's injury against Illinois, how they probably kept him out of the game just to save him for this one. It looked like he probably could have given it a go, judging by the fact that he went out there. But I'm operating under the assumption that he's going to get enough rest this week and he's going to be out there ready to go on Saturday. And I don't know if you guys have heard anything contrary. Feel free to jump in and stop me before I go down that rabbit hole. But that's what I'm rolling with. And I think that that's going to be a big problem for Ohio State because they've been suspect on defense at times. Look no further than their matchup against Maryland last weekend. And Blake Corum can hurt you with his legs. He can hurt you on the ground. And he also keeps that Ohio State offense off the field when he's moving the change, when he's picking up big chunk plays. He averaged 14 and a half yards per carry last year against the Buckeyes. That's a huge number. And that's what Michigan is going to try to do if he's ready to go. If he's healthy, if he's even partially healthy and out there, he's going to be the offense. And it's a good offense when you have him leading the way. Now, the reason I'm picking Ohio State to win this game is I think they just have too many weapons for Michigan to cover. Michigan is an elite defense. Michigan has proven that they can shut down Ohio State before. They did it last year. But I just think that at home, in the with the crowd behind them, all things else being equal, I think Ohio State has a slightly better offense, and their deficiency on defense is a little bit less of a deficiency than Michigan's kind of one-dimensional offense at this point. So I'm going to take Ohio State to win a close one. I don't think that Ohio State's going to look at this one as like a perfect game or a pretty game by their standards. It's probably going to be in the upper 20s or lower 30s in the score and maybe even the temperature on the field as well. But yeah, I'm going to take Ohio State to win a close one and Michigan to cover the spread.
Yeah, no, I mean, we've been talking about this. This is going to be game of the year. I think that this is going to be probably for your viewing money, the best game that you can watch all year long. I'm really excited about this, despite the fact that, yeah, like you were saying, there's some uncertainty, I think, on both sides. You know, on the Michigan side with the Blake Corum thing, I don't know if you guys saw this, but he was out there giving out turkeys on the ice and snow, you know, walking with people and everything like that. He seemed to be just fine being able to walk around and get out there and do that. He was also using his own NIL money to do that. I think he gave out something like 300 turkeys with his own money. So, first off, great for him. Excellent young man. Good job. But at the same time, I do think he's probably healthy enough to be doing that. If there was any concern about the knee, they wouldn't have had him out there on the ice in the snow, you know, walking around on that with a chance to slip and fall and, you know, maybe ruin things. So I think he's going to be able to go. I'm not 100% on that one. I think they had their, you know, sort of press conferences, and I don't think either coach said anything about injury updates. So we're not going to probably get an answer on that until the game. On the Ohio State side, I think they're going to have enough pieces ready to go to call this a full strength team. And so breaking it down, I think on Ohio State side on offense, the key to this game for them is going to be Michigan pass rush and being able to keep them off of CJ Stroud. Stroud struggles under pressure. We've talked about this, for several weeks. They have problems on offense when Stroud gets off schedule, when he gets, in a position where he has to make decisions on the fly. When he's operating under the offense's framework, it's good. But when he has to get off schedule, there's problems. Last year, Michigan pressured him on 47% of his dropbacks. We saw what happened. The offense struggled. They weren't able to get much going on. I think for the Buckeyes, the number one thing they have to do is get that to come down. That they're probably going to have to find ways to get the quick pass incorporated, find ways to kind of hit guys in stride and get the ball out of his hands quickly. I don't think they're going to get much on the ground at all. They haven't been a very good running team in the last part of the season, and Michigan's number 2 in rushing yardage allowed at 79.5 per game. Shout out to James Madison, actually number 1 when I was looking that stat up, 78 for them. So good job to the James Madison squad out there. But I don't think they get much on the ground in this game, so they're going to have to get it done in the passing game, and they have to get the pressure off Stroud. On the Michigan side, Blake Corum has to be good. He has to be the superstar. He's currently sitting at 1,537 total yards, 19 touchdowns. He probably needs to finish this season with 22 touchdowns, getting 3 in this game if they want to win. Sorry about that. He has to be the main source of the points for the Wolverines. Ohio State, they've been susceptible to the run. They've been susceptible to, some of the run game issues that they've had throughout the season. They've given up 107 yards per game. I think if they get out of here with 107 yards given up, they feel really good about that and blow the doors off Michigan.
That would be
They're going to need a lot more.
Huge win if they gave up only 107.
Yeah, that would be huge for them. I don't think that's the number, but if they only give up 107, I think that's big for them. I think the formula to win on the road anytime you're a road team is to do one of two things. You either have to have explosive plays that takes the crowd out of it and kind of shell shocks you, or you just have to sit on the ball and take the air out of the crowd. And that's hard to do in a rivalry game, right? When the crowd cares, when this is the big game, this is the one everyone's paying attention to, it's really hard to get the crowd out of it. If you ask me, this is probably coming down to a last minute drive from Ohio State. I think they're going to be able to, score some points through the game, but they're not going to put up the numbers they have. Michigan's going to be able to pin their ears back and rush a little bit and get after him, probably ruin a couple drives. And I think at the end of the day, you'll see a late lead from Michigan, maybe a 2-3 point lead, something like that, where they have to run down the field and do it. And I think Michigan's defense makes just 1 or 2 more plays on that last drive to get them the dub. I'm going to take Michigan outright. So, of course, I'm going to take them with the plus 7.5. They are my lucky dog of the week. And I think that they finished this season undefeated for the second year here. This would be really good for them to be able to get back into the playoffs and back into the championship for the second year in a row.
Michigan State Spartan fans are about to cuss you out in the comments for that.
No, not undefeated for the second year in a row. Back to the championship second year in a row.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying, to be clear.
I'm going to take Michigan plus 7.5 as well. I think both offenses are very one-dimensional right now. Ohio State can't run the ball. They're not healthy in their backfield. Michigan can't really throw the ball downfield, as we talked about on our Week 2 recap show. As long as Blake Corum is healthy, I think he's the X factor because, as I've talked about for several weeks now, Michigan's pass rush has been better than expected this year, and that's the kryptonite for CJ Stroud. He looks wonderfully average when he does not have a clean pocket. So I know it's on the road. He's going to be at home, and Michigan is the dog with their backs against the wall right now. But to me, this feels almost a little bit like Oregon coming in like they did last year. Now, they don't have the same game-breaking pass rusher like Kayvon Thibodeau. They don't have an all-star linebacker like Justin Flo, who actually didn't even get to play in that game. But to me, the pieces are there, the ingredients are there, where Michigan goes in at least keeps it close. Almost 8 points, I think, is a little bit too much. I think it's putting a little too much stock in the home crowd effect. Michigan has played big games. They know what it's going to be like in this environment. So give me Michigan plus the 7.5. If I had to just pick it on the money line, I'd probably also pick Michigan, but I don't necessarily have the same persuasion that Garrett does, just because everything that I've looked at, all the analysis that I put into this, is truly a coin flip, right? Like if Ohio State's offensive line holds up, then I don't think Michigan has a chance because CJ Stroud is special and will outscore Michigan if given that clean pocket. We'll wait and see. That's the beauty of a rivalry game, though. I think you've got to expect a one possession game, especially with so much on the line in this one. And look, Ohio State, they want revenge from last year. Michigan, they would love to press that advantage and continue to rule in the Big Ten and have another chance at a college football playoff. So, without a doubt, game of the week here.
Yeah, and I mean, it sounds cliche. It sounds like we're talking from the 1970s, but it really is going to be who can more consistently get the yards they need on the ground to supplement their air attack because Ohio State's going to have the better passing attack. But last year, what they ran into is when they needed 3 yards, when they needed 2 or even 1 yard, they couldn't get it. They only ran for, I had the stat pulled up a second ago. They only ran for 64 yards last year against the Wolverines. And you're right. Aiden Hutchinson isn't walking through that door, but it's still a formidable defense that's going to cause a lot of problems for a backfield that's not healthy.
Gracious hip.